Welcome to the DPV podcast, episode 3.
Yeah. I'm your host, Alex.
I'm your co-host, Josh.
Oh, okay. You're going to be co-host. I'll be host.
Yeah, you beat me to it.
Yes.
So, anyway, we've got a great episode for you this time around. Going to do a little tech episode, give you some tech tidbits, some vehicular wisdom.
Yeah, I'm not sure we're the best to give this, but we have made lots of mistakes in our life, and so we're going to pass on what we've learned from those mistakes and hopefully help people out so they don't have to make the same ones.
Yeah, we've definitely got experience.
We got some experience, yeah.
We don't always learn from the
We
experience.
don't, no, that is definitely true.
But yeah, it should be a good one.
We are still going to do a fantasy build, but let's hold off until the end and see what if we can apply some of the stuff that we have learned today or talked about today and maybe make some better choices.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds like a great. Hey, what you been up to the last month?
I actually got some stuff done on rigs this month, and it's been awesome. We recently picked up a almost free Ranchero that you can check out a sweet video on, probably below somewhere.
Yeah, that just posted today. Yeah. So be sure to check it out. It's awesome.
It was a blast, and it was so much fun. But we got that running, got it home, and then did some cleanup on it, and kind of unbarn-finded it, and cleaned it up. And it's actually looks pretty good for what it is. I mean, for how much I have into it, it looks really good. But yeah, we got some more videos on that coming up, and you should check it out.
Did you work on Grandpa's truck a little bit too?
A little bit. Got the starter changed out and got to put the exhaust back on. But I think that this week that'll be ready to roll. How about yourself? Did you get anything done?
I got nothing done.
You worked on my rigs.
I helped you on the Ranchero, and that was an absolute blast. That was such a fun day. But like I said last episode, I picked up a remodel, so that's been taking up my time. And Fam and I went to Costa Rica. Yeah. It was awesome. Kind of did some wheeling in a Nissan Versa by accident. You know, the roads down there cross rivers, and I didn't know that when we selected our rental car.
You didn't select one with a snorkel?
No, but there are rigs everywhere down there with snorkels. Every single truck down there, like they got Toyota Hilux, they got different Nissans and Isuzu pickups, all with diesels, all with snorkels, all with mud tires.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was pretty cool to see.
Little Wheeler's paradise.
Yeah. So I want to go back in the rainy season and do some wheeling. I think it'd be cool.
Yeah.
Big Chief's still sitting here leaking trans fluid all over the floor, and still got the same list to do to it then as last episode. So
It'd be really cool if somebody got you like an oil pan for that for like their birthday in January.
that would be cool. Oh, yeah, in this episode, we want to talk about your first 4x4. Like, what type of rig should you build? What type of rig should you buy? And what are the first type of mods that you should do if you're wanting to get into wheeling? And this is in my mind, it's for the newbie wheeler, this episode.
Yeah, this is like your first car, kind of your first experience with wheeling, and maybe you've been out with a couple buddies before, but you want to get a rig for yourself so you can go do some exploring on your own and break your own rig.
Yeah, so this isn't necessarily going to apply to someone that, I don't know how this circumstance would come up, but you've done some wheeling quite a bit, but not in your own production vehicle. Like, yeah. I don't know if you had a buggy or something and then you wanted to build your own wheeling rig. Yeah, this is for the new guy. Yeah, this is for the new guy.
And we're also going to be talking about being budget friendly here. Thinking about a new wheeler. When I was brand new, I had money to put gas in the tank, and that was about it. That's where all my mod money went with that Bronco that got about 8 miles to the gallon. But we're going to be very budget conscious on this too, and hopefully help you spend your money wisely on what to do.
Yeah, I'm thinking, like high schooler, young adult, maybe your parents bought you a $1,500 rig, but that's about it.
Yeah. So first we should probably talk about your vehicle selection. Something kind of what to look for on these vehicles. A couple of things that come to mind that would be very beneficial later on in life or later as you advance your wheeling would be something that has a straight axle, something that has an actual transfer case, not an all-wheel drive vehicle, something that has you can shift high-low range. Another thing you want to look for is things with aftermarket support. My very first wheeler was an 85 Isuzu Trooper, and that had zero aftermarket support. I think Old Man Emu was the only guy that had a lift for it, and it might have been like a 2-inch budget lift. There was not much in the world of aftermarket on that thing.
Right, and those Old Man Emu lifts
Are not cheap.
No, even a 2-inch lift could be $800
because not very many people have them. So if you can steer yourself towards something like a Wrangler, I mean, obviously a little bit more money out of the box, but for a Wrangler or something like that has decent off-road support. But even like Cherokees are dirt cheap.
Yeah, Jeep Cherokee, a Jeep ZJ.
A Grand Cherokee, don't overlook those.
Yep, and if you got it room in your budget, even in the Toyota, Tacoma or a 4Runner, sometimes you can pick those up budget friendly. Yeah. They might have some miles on them, but they last forever.
They do last forever.
But like Alex was saying, at minimum, you want like a selectable transfer case with a low range because if you pick an all-wheel drive version, those do not like to be lifted. They tend to have lots of driveline vibes, and as you get bigger tires, that viscous coupler in the transfer case can basically disintegrate, and you don't want that.
That is one thing that is a lot harder to add. You can, I believe, straight axle swapping a rig is a lot easier than adding a transfer case, because usually that vehicle doesn't have that transmission doesn't have a transfer case available, so you're changing the transmission. And so, yeah, it just goes on and on and on. So after you've selected your vehicle, some of the first mods to do, bigger is always better, I think. So get a little bit of a lift, get a little bit bigger tires. You don't need different wheels. Factory wheels are perfectly fine. Stock wheels wheel just as good as the aftermarket wheels. And early on, you're not throwing bead locks on, and so your factory wheels are fine.
Right, and you don't need a huge lift, like a 2 or 3 inch lift, because honestly, after you get into those bigger lifts, it kind of snowballs on the other modifications you have to make, like with your drive lines and control arms and steering
and axle strength and
yeah, and on. Where a 2 to 3 inch lift, you can pretty much get away with no driveline vibes. There's not a lot of other suspension mods you have to do to make that 2-inch lift work.
Yeah, with a Sawzall, depending on how nice your vehicle is, how nice your first wheeler is, you can also get bigger tires on there without any lift.
Yeah, I think I saw on one of the forums one time when I had my Grand Cherokee, a guy fit 33s on a Grand Cherokee with no lift. Ample Sawzall use.
Yeah,
but
it's cool.
Yeah, where there's a will, there's a way. Got to adjust your bump stops a little bit.
Yeah, I kind of like the look of a factory height rig with big tires. I think it kind of does look cool.
Yeah, it's the low center of gravity build. The next mod here, after you get your lift, biggest tires you can fit with that lift. Yeah. You may run into power problems or gearing issues, so it kind of depends on your drivetrain. Like if you got a Jeep with the 4.0, you can probably run 33s on stock gearing. It's not going to be great, but it's okay. If you've got a 4-cylinder, probably not going to work for you to go to 33s. And I've experienced that with my Nissan when I had those Swampers on there. It was gutless.
Yeah, she had nothing.
Yeah.
And with those bigger tires, you do not need to buy new. Search Craigslist, search Facebook Marketplace. Don't buy new tires. You can get such better deals from guys with tires with 50% life left than you can buying new.
Oh, yeah. And sometimes even the factory Jeep Rubicons, a lot of times they come with 33s from factory, and guys are going to 37s. And so you can get takeoffs for pretty cheap. Yeah. As you get Wheelin experience and you're going deeper into the trails, you're going to need some recovery equipment.
Especially if you wheel by yourself, which we do that often. Solo wheeling.
One of the best pieces of equipment you can buy for your vehicle is a winch. And they're really not too expensive, really. Like,
no.
They've done a ton of reviews on the Harbor Freight Badland winches. They're great.
That's what I run. I run a Harbor Freight Badland winch on the front of my trailer, and it is awesome. It has never let me down. I have another knockoff winch that I got at Costco 15 plus years ago on the front of my Bronco, and it's never let me down. Like, you don't need to go out and buy a brand new Warren. Again, Craigslist searching. And until you get your winch, we wheeled a long time with come-alongs and snatch blocks.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's amazing the situations you can get out of with a couple come-alongs. Another mod I did to my Grand Cherokee, and this is when I only had a 2-inch lift and 31-inch tires. I put some sway bar disconnects on it on the front, and what that does is allows your suspension to travel a lot more. And I was actually able to keep up with Alex on everything he did on 35s in his Bronco before he got his locker with my 31-inch tires. It's amazing what suspension travel and articulation can do. So sway bar disconnects, and I've read that even on like an IFS, independent suspension rig, disconnects can really help.
Depending on how nice you want to keep your rig and whether or not this is your daily driver and you're trying to keep it nice and clean, body protection also comes into effect, which would be like your front bumper, your rear bumper, maybe some rock sliders. I feel like it's starting to get a little bit more towards getting your rig away from like a daily driver versus to more of a full-time wheeler. Personally, I've never really cared about the body on my rigs, and so I have a lot of Ponderosa pine pinstriping on the side of my rigs. I don't care much for body protection. It's not something that I usually care about.
So I like to make sure my door is still open and stuff. So I'm an advocate for rock sliders, and with some body protection, it allows you to not need as much suspension because you can kind of bash the bottom side of your rig and not worry about breaking anything. You definitely are going to want a transfer case skid plate. Because that's just a vulnerable spot, and you don't want to bust your transfer case in half when you're in the middle of the woods.
Also, a gas tank skid plate would also be nice. A lot of these newer rigs are going with poly tanks now, and poly tank and a rock can slice that open pretty easily, and a little skid plate back there probably help quite a bit.
Yeah, and with these modifications like the body protection, since it's not like rollover protection, it's not necessarily a safety thing, it's a good chance for you to learn some fab skills if you don't want to buy the aftermarket versions of these things. So you can pick yourself up a nice cheap welder and a grinder with some cutoff wheels and learn how to fab some stuff.
Yeah, they don't need to be fancy. Skid plates, yeah, they just have to be functional.
Yeah, paint covers a multitude of sins.
Yes, it does.
And the last thing I've got on the mod list would be a locker, maybe a lunchbox locker, so you don't have to worry about gears. And basically what a lunchbox locker does is it just replaces the spider gears in your differential, and it can really help you go a long ways down the trail. Having a locker makes a gigantic difference.
Yeah, sometimes called a mini spool, but I ran one in my 9-inch for a long time, and I ended up, when I switched gears, I switched to a full locker. But yeah, they're great, easy to install. You don't need to change your gear set at all, and yeah, it really helps off-roading, getting that third wheel drive.
Yeah, it like completely changed your Bronco when you went with the spool in the rear. It was incredible the places that thing would go.
Yeah.
So one cool thing about, doing these easy mods in the beginning it's gonna give you some more confidence on working on your rig and being able to do things yourself, because everything we just talked about, like someone with very minimal wrenching experience can do it, especially with the world of YouTube.
Oh yeah. If you want to do it, there's a video of somebody else doing it, and you can watch that video 8-9 times, pause it at different parts. It's a great resource.
And it's everything that we just talked about can be done with basic hand tools. Yeah. You're going to get to know your rig better. And then as you get more wheeling experience, it's going to tell you, do I like this wheeling thing? I think you will, but I've seen people, at least on the forums, where they'll spend years building their rig, and it's their first 4x4. They're doing it just over the top. And then they go wheeling twice and get burnt out and sell it. And it's like,
that's crazy.
I would rather see you put a 2-inch budget boost on something, go have some fun, figure out what the next thing is that you need. Yeah. So, because it's going to kind of depend on the area where you wheel.
And what you break is what you're going to need to replace. That's
Exactly.
Yeah. And that is one thing, like when you're out wheeling and you break something, well, you found your weak spot. So when you replace it, don't replace it with stock. Buy the aftermarket version, or see if you can figure out a way to beef up that portion of your, whether it be your steering, your suspension, or drivetrain. And and then find your next weak spot.
Yep. Yeah. There's one time in my Grand Cherokee that the weak spot was my steering, like tie rod and stuff. So I replaced it with Iron Rock off-road kit that had Heims joints and all this stuff. And the next time I went wheeling, I ripped the steering box completely off the frame because the steering was all tightened up. The next weak spot was the steering box.
That happened on that kind of same thing with my Bronco. That Dana 44 front end didn't like the big block over it, and I think in 3 different sections I replaced the axle shaft, the inner and outer axle shaft, and U-joint. And first it broke the inner, and I changed it with chromoly, and then it broke the outer, and I changed that over, and then it sheared the U-joint, and then I went to a bigger U-joint. Yeah, it just keeps going and going and going.
So I do think that keeping your build small and kind of building as you go is important, especially if you have like no wheeling experience, because if you start out with no wheeling experience and you have this just like badass rig that
can go anywhere,
that's on 37s or 40s and fully locked, like you're gonna get yourself into trouble and maybe hurt yourself, maybe hurt someone else, and then when you're gonna get yourself in a situation that you don't know how to get out of, and maybe other people don't have a rig capable enough to get you out of.
Yeah. So starting small is always good. Kind of getting sure of your own driving abilities, and kind of I like wheeling a stock rig too a little bit. Kind of lets you get a feel for the vehicle, see how far you can kind of push it, and without getting out there on huge obstacles. And so you kind of feel where your center of gravity is and kind of feel out the vehicle a little bit.
Yeah, and the other thing about wheeling a stock vehicle is you learn how to pick lines, because it's not just a point and shoot deal like a rock bouncer. Like you're going to have to kind of keep in mind, these are the low points on my rig. Look ahead on the trail and be like, there's a rock there, I need to avoid that. And like learn how to keep all 4 tires on the ground by picking your line.
Very, very true.
So when your rig gets big and powerful on a trail that requires a rig that's big and powerful, there's like a million little decisions you have to make like in a split second. And you're not going to have the experience right off the bat to be able to make those decisions. There's situations when it gets crazy where you need to know, like, I need to gas it right now, or I need to get on the brakes right now, or I need to slam it in reverse right now. And until you kind of are able to feel those out, you really shouldn't be behind the wheel of something that can do that.
Yeah.
So to kind of recap everything, you want to select something that preferably has aftermarket support, but at least has low range and a selectable T-case.
Straight axles are nice.
Straight axles are nice. Kind of build it slow, kind of one step at a time, figure out where your weak points are, gain some wheeling experience, and just have fun with it.
Yep, for sure. It's a great sport, and it's fun to just get out in the woods and see how far you can get these rigs to go. And you run into a lot of nice people out there. Everywhere, every wheeling event we've been to, you always run into, you make a new friend out there. You see somebody you saw at the last event. It's a nice big community. It's fun.
Yeah, everybody is willing to lend a hand to get you unstuck or unbroke.
I've never been stuck out in the woods and have another rig, go driving by and be like, all right, see ya. Like they always, hey, you need a hand? What do you need? Yeah, it's a good community.
It's awesome. Yeah.
Do you want to do our fantasy build?
I think so. Yeah. Who's going first?
I want to see what I got.
Okay. I got to make a decision here because I saved like 4.
Something I can coyote swap. You know how they want to LS swap the world?
So it does have title issues, but you're kind of a wizard.
I'm kind of a wizard. What? That's coming up.
And by going with the title issues,
more rig
budget. Yeah. Okay.
Oh, I actually looked at this rig. You almost got this one.
That would have been funny.
That would have been sweet. Yeah, and I feel like I can get around this title. It is the 2.8 V6, which is, I think, the worst engine you could have got in these. I think it makes less power than the 2.3 cylinder for some reason, if I remember correctly. But it is, what?
What did I give you?
It is an 84 Ford Bronco 2. So it's the Ford Bronco on the Ranger chassis. This is actually I think this is an underappreciated vehicle. I think there should be more Ranger or more Bronco 2s out there.
I absolutely agree. They're so small.
They are. It's nice. They got a narrow trail width. I think one of these on like a set of mid-size axles, I think would look cool. You wouldn't have to go full width axles because this is super narrow. I think
Get them out of a Cherokee.
Yeah,
That'd be cheap.
yeah. I think that would be awesome. Yeah, this runs and drives. I think you could wheel this for a little bit. Automatic transmission, 4-wheel drive, with a. Yeah, this is a good one. This would be a great first wheeler. I feel like this is something you could drive back and forth to school or to work. But yeah, this is a good one. This is small budget lift. I think about 31s, 32s on this would be awesome.
I think 32s on that would be like 35s on a full-size rig.
Yeah, I think so. I think 33s would be huge on this thing. But yeah, 31, 32s would be about perfect.
And what's nice is that's got the small Ford pattern, which is also like the Jeep Cherokees. Like finding a set of wheels and tires with 31s would be easy.
I don't know if you would actually go much bigger than 31s because of that 2.8, but I think a guy can make it work. And I think this would be a fun little wheeling rig. Oh, I could have had that. That seems like an easier thing to build.
All right. So I got a 94 Ford Explorer. I also think these are underutilized.
Yes.
So it's only $1,000 though. So I feel like these things came with a V8.
There is and the early one, I think it's the 94, 95, have the GT40 heads for the 302 that are actually like a performance head. Like those are good. Those are good ones. If you can find, and those you can pick these up fairly cheap.
Yeah, I would probably straight axle it, which I know is maybe not a newbie move, but
I think you could wheel it a little way.
You could wheel it for a while. And it's already
got a lift on
4-inch lift and 33s.
Yeah, I feel like I kind of
said it had 33s.
It has 31s on it now.
Yeah. You could totally wheel it like that. It's straight enough that I would probably do rock sliders and do a winch. I'd build the rock sliders probably for $100. Winch would be $300 or $400, and it probably needs some maintenance.
You got an 8.8 in the rear. That helps you out a little bit.
Yeah. When those are super easy to put a lunchbox locker in, and that's the other thing to keep in mind. We talked about earlier is like, where do you live? What's the terrain in your area? Like where we grew up, a lot of the trails, you could do just about anything down there on 33s. And then in the wintertime when you got a ton of snow, you need some big, huge flotation tires and low gearing. But for a lot of the year, like all the mountain roads and stuff you could do with 31s, 33s, pretty easy. But if you lived in Utah and you were like near Moab or something, then maybe you'd want to go bigger sooner. Yeah. Or if you lived on, Western Washington where there's LB, there's some off-road areas over there that the ruts are deep and you're gonna
a lot of water, you need big mud, big rubber, big traction.
Yeah, so it kind of depends on where you live on how far you got to modify it and what type of wheeling are you wanting to get into. Are you wanting to get into like overlanding, or are you wanting to get into hardcore rock crawling? Like all those are going to influence the mods that you need.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I definitely think people should be building Explorers more often, especially with the power plant options. And
that 302 one that in the early ones is a good engine.
Yeah, and the other thing is you can find these with factory 411s. So if you got the V8 and factory 411s, like you could piece that together with a little bit of patience and scouring the junkyards. and you'd have lots of power. You'd have the gearing. You'd definitely be able to, with that 302 and 411s, you could probably turn 35s all right.
Oh, yeah, I bet so.
Anyway, if you're thinking about getting into wheeling, you should do it. Yeah. Go find yourself like a $1,500 to $2,000 rig. We looked at $1,000 to $500 rigs on this episode. I would suggest probably spending like maybe $3,000 or $4,000 and hold off on the mods for a little bit just to get something that's a little more dependable.
Something a little more reliable. And don't also look at the rigs that already have like a little bit of a lift on them or something like that, because modifications don't hold resale value. So you put on a $500 lift, you just increase the value of the car by $100. So you can get a lot more rig if you're looking for one that's already been a little bit modified.
Yeah, I used to think that there was something cool about being the first one to modify something. But the thing is like, if you buy an old Cherokee, like a 90s Cherokee that's unmolested, like the entire thing's going to be wore out. Like it's 20, 30 years old. The bushings are shot, everything. And you get something that's been lifted already. Some of those control arm bushings might be replaced.
And he's maybe already put on newer shocks, bigger, longer shocks that are new. And yeah, he's already been in there and fixed some stuff. And yeah.
Anyway, hope you enjoyed the episode. If you did, leave us a review on wherever you listen to your podcast. If you're on YouTube, leave us a comment below. Ask us questions. We love talking to you guys. We got merch?
We got merch. We got hats. We got sweatshirts. We got T-shirts. They're linked below? Probably below. They'll be below. All right. Until next time.
Till next time.
We'll wreck it, wrench it, repeat. See ya.
See ya.